This will be our Super 6 game, sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Super 6 column will be out later in the week. So, of course, the obvious question, what will the outcome of this game be? I'm undecided right now. I'm leaning towards Indiana playing well early. We have seen Ohio State with a lot of slow starts this year, and then ultimately turning it on as the game goes on. But Jeff, I'm going to start with you because you made a good point in the group thread the other day about Indiana and well-coached teams typically start well as all. So is that a little bit of a lean towards the Hoosiers plus the points here, coupled with Ohio State's injuries now on the offensive line, the unfortunate McLaughlin injury, the center now for the year now with the Achilles. That was the unit that played really well at Penn State, and now they got to shuffle it again a couple of days before their biggest game of the year. Is that a little IU lean maybe on the group text a couple of days ago?
So what I said was we've seen good teams with good coaching staffs play well early in games after a bye week. Indiana's off a bye week. You then answer with saying Washington's going to beat Oregon. I didn't really appreciate that. Oregon's also off a bye when they play in a couple of weeks. But here's my concern about this game just from a big picture perspective. And this is why I think like an Indiana first half wager might be a good way to start, and maybe Ohio State full game. I understand it's not so simple sometimes to say one team has the better players, but Ohio State has better players all over the roster. Yes, their offensive line is a little beat up. I get that. It's a problem. Indiana's run defense has been good, but they have faced zero rushing teams like in the top 75 in the country in yards per game. Like they faced nobody. It's okay to acknowledge that while also acknowledging that Indiana has played good football against those teams. So to me, guys, I think they're well coached. We know they're well coached. I don't think it. They're well coached. They've heard for 2 weeks about how they're not going to keep this game close and their playoff chances are in peril and all those things. I think they start fast in this game, but I think Ohio State's athletes and their physicality and just having better football players leads to a cover by the time this game is over, Will. That's how I view this game. Indiana starts fast. Ohio State wins and covers. I'd rather be on Ohio State side of Indiana here over 60 minutes. I think Ohio State just has better football players, and they're playing for a spot in the Big Ten championship game.
I like Indiana, and I understand that you might turn this game on and 2 drives in, you say, my team here has a bunch of transfers from James Madison, and I'm going up against blue chip 5-star guys. I'm going to get blown out. I'm going to look like an idiot. Fine, that might be the case, but you hit on it. They've heard for 2 weeks of how much are they going to lose by? What if they lose by 17? What if they lose by 20? Just everyone assuming they're going to lose. They're off a bye. They're well coached, and I just think they're good. I know that the schedule is what it is, but 56-7, 58-7 against Nebraska. Nebraska was a 3-point game with Ohio State. Nebraska beat a Colorado team that might be in the playoff. They've got good players up front. The kid Kamara is obviously a tremendous player, and throw in the Ohio State offensive line issues. Ohio State under Day can be tight in these big games. We've seen that plenty of times. His teams just get really, really tight. And I just think big picture college football, the best teams are not as dominant as they were 3, 4, 5 years ago with the NIL and the transfer portal. It's evened it out. It's more parity. The dominant teams are just not quite as dominant. There's no Joe Burrow LSU. There's no 2020 Bama. There's no 2022 Georgia. There's not that team this year. The top of college football is closer to the middle. I think this is a close game. I'll take the points. And Sammy, I am going to have some Indiana money line. I wouldn't be shocked if Indiana wins this game. I'm actually going to pick Indiana to win the game.
I believe Indiana is the toughest team in the country to power rate. I have 3 sets of ratings. They're all around the same. Indiana, anywhere from the 12th to the 15th best team in the country, but they could be the 7th best team in the country. They could be the 23rd best team in the country. We don't know. We will find out a lot on Saturday. I'm inclined to look under, guys. I feel like both defensive lines can win their respective battles. We know that Ohio State's going to be up against it at least early in the game. Indiana's D-line, very, very good. But as Jeff pointed out, how good are they? Are they great or are they good? And we have to base that off of who they've played, not what they can do against Ohio State. It's a fascinating handicap. I talked this morning on our show about under 52. It's now 51.5, 51. Ooh, sharp guy. No, I mean 31, 17, 31. I don't know. Like, it's the hardest game for me this season to feel confident about. Barry, you passed on it too.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I don't really know.
I know under would be the way that I would go. I did grab some Indiana plus 360, I think it was, last week to miss the playoffs in case they do get blown out. That number has now dropped dramatically. I think it's like plus 270 on the no. But hey, if you agree with the ESPN playoff predictor that Indiana's got a 97% chance to make the playoff, then all these sports books are giving out free money with an Indiana like minus 350 or 360 to make the playoff now. If you believe the math by my former employer. But I think the under has a couple of things going for it as well, Sammy, within the game strategy, the flow of the game. You saw Indiana against Michigan, the most NFL type body opponent defense that they're going to play.
Couldn't run
this week.
Couldn't run the ball.
Couldn't move the ball. And that obviously is going to keep their team total down. And what if, I remember in 2014, Mississippi State was number one in the college football, the first college football playoff rankings. They went to Alabama, I think, that following week, and they were a massive underdog. And Dan Mullen and that offensive staff played a super conservative game where it was almost like they knew they weren't going to win, but they just wanted to keep the score down and have a impressive loss that didn't look like a blowout to maybe keep them from falling too far in the playoff rankings. So I wonder if we get to the point in the second half where it's kind of, Indiana's down a couple of scores and it doesn't look like they're really having much success moving the ball. Do we see a lot of time run off the play clock? Do we see more runs? Do we see kind of a little bit of a four corners offense to maybe play for a cover and maybe have it look like not a blowout type win? I don't know if
there's no chance.
I don't know if that's in Coach Sig's DNA though. That's
no chance. Zero chance that he does that. There is zero chance he looks at that scoreboard and says, "Let's keep it close to make a playoff." That's not his. He called his entire program soft this offseason. He's not going to go ahead and be soft in that moment. And look, and I think the committee, if they get blown out, they might want to knock him out. But again, look, we get all worked up about these playoff rankings, but like for who? Like who are you knocking them out for at the moment, right?
Bear Bets full episodes drop twice a week right here on the Bear Bets YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to stay ahead of the odds, and let's celebrate all of our wins together.